people who live in the villages and remote farms around the mouth of the River Exe in Devon during the last century were not the types to stay up late, especially not in winter when darkness came early to their rural homes. So it's not surprising that no one was out and about on the night of February the 8th, 1855, which is a very great pity, because if they had been, they might just be able to help to solve a mystery which has never been satisfactorily explained. During the night of the 8th to the 9th, a light fall of snow covered the ground to a depth of about an inch. And so it was that when the inhabitants of places like Totnes, Exmouth, Lympstone, Taymouth, Topsham and Dawlish rose from their beds and rubbed the sleep from their eyes, they rubbed them again in disbelief, because all over that area they saw the tracks of an unknown creature. The tracks were all the same. They resembled the hoof marks of a pony or donkey, 4 inches long and some 2 3/4 inches wide, and they went in a single line exactly 8 inches apart. Note please the words there, in a single line. No 4-footed and few 2-footed animals walk by putting 1 foot directly in front of another. Try it yourself, walking across your room, and you'll see how difficult it is. Also, you might like to try walking over rough ground which rises and falls, taking exactly the same size step all the time. Virtually impossible. Yet our mysterious creature managed it. Not only that, but it seemed to pay little or no regard to obstacles in its path. In places it approached a building, went straight up to it, and then the tracks could be seen crossing the roof and beginning again on the other side. In other places, tracks were discovered inside a garden surrounded by a 12-foot wall. They also entered a shed and emerged through a hole some 2 feet square in the rear wall. They were everywhere. In Lympstone, for example, the tracks were seen to have approached every door in the village, and then to have turned away and moved on, across fields, through woods, now wandering, now in a dead straight line, under bushes, over haystacks, suddenly disappearing unexpectedly, then recommencing 20 feet on. Initially, the villagers thought that only their own locale had been visited. But as news came from other places, it was discovered that whatever had made the tracks had been on both sides of the estuary, and it was later calculated had covered a distance of some 96 miles in the course of the one night. Huntsmen scoured the countryside, but apart from its tracks, no sign of the creature could be found. At one stage, a group of them thought they had discovered it, but it turned out to be a local half-wit called Daft Danny Plummer, who was in the habit of covering himself with layers of goose and chicken feathers. He was hiding in a wood when he was found, and he would have been beaten to death had not his life been saved by Squire Bartholomew, the local magistrate, who rode up and recognized the imbecile and rescued him. Rumors were rife. Each story grew with the retelling of it. By nightfall on the 9th of February, the countryside was in a state of complete panic, with the women and children barricading themselves inside, while the men searched with lanterns and whatever weapons they could lay their hands on. But, as it grew darker, even they admitted defeat and joined their families behind locked and bolted doors. Because you see, by now the word was out. The devil was wandering the countryside of South Devon. With the first reports appearing in the local and national press, including the Times and the Illustrated London News, with drawings of the tracks, every so-called expert had his own theory as to what had produced them. The blame was laid at the door of badgers, jumping rats, unknown migrating seabirds, foxes, otters, deer, stoats, and even an escaped kangaroo. But none of them fitted the facts. And although the argument raged for weeks among the correspondents of the Illustrated London News, it was never resolved. If you have a theory, many people would be interested to hear it. All you need to do is to find an animal which is small enough to fit through a 2-foot gap, able to jump a 12-foot wall and to jump 20 feet through the air, able to swim a 2-mile-wide river estuary in freezing weather, and to travel at some 16 miles an hour by placing its little hoofs directly one in front of the other. I see difficulties. Maybe the idea of the devil being abroad isn't so ridiculous after all. Keep a lookout next winter. You never know.